Well, good morning. Welcome to the 11 a.m. instant briefing here on the Glass Fire. My name is Jonathan Cox, Deputy Chief and Information Officer on the incident. As usual, we will have a Spanish-speaking version of this press conference at the conclusion of the English language version, and that will be directly after we go through all the speakers here. Just a quick update on the incident. We still remain in unified command between multiple agencies across the two counties. As of 7 o'clock this morning, the fire sits at 65,580 acres and 30% containment. We still have 21,785 structures that are threatened by the fire, and we can confirm that 1,235 structures have been destroyed across the fire, 242 damaged, and our damage inspection teams have completed 65% of the geographical area in their assessment. As far as the next phases of this incident, as we get into the recovery, a lot of questions have been asked about where people get information. The recovery process is under the authority of the local jurisdiction. If you live in the unincorporated areas of each county, that will come under the county's authority. If you live within a city, it comes under the city's authority, and their respective websites have the best information related to that. We do have over 2,700 firefighters assigned to this fire, including over 20 helicopters working 24-hour shifts on the line. And for more specific information about that, I'd like to turn it over to Sean Norman, Operations Section Chief with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3.
Good morning. So I'll start initially here talking about Branch 2. And we've broken the fire into two zones. We have the East Zone and the West Zone. The East Zone primarily comprised of Napa County, and the West Zone primarily comprised of Sonoma County. So starting in Branch 2, as we come down this side of the Napa Valley, which would be the eastern side, up and around St. Helena and Calistoga, south of there, everything's looking really good. We've had no movement of the fire in there, and basically the troops are in there doing mop-up and patrol operations. As we come down into our Branch 10 area, this would be the area from Whitehall Lane south and then coming up and over Mount St. John and into the community of Kenwood. We have one little piece in here that the folks are finishing up. It was in some rough country up off of Whitehall Lane. They've gone in and gone direct and cut all that out in a place called Bear Creek Canyon, and that's all holding and looking really good. As we come down in through Sugarloaf State Park, into Kenwood, and onto Highway 12 itself, all of our lines have held in there. We're finishing up some last minute things we need to do to let the utility companies come in and do their portion of the work. Coming up through the Highway 12 corridor, in through the county area of Sonoma, and then into Oakmont and Santa Rosa City proper. All the fire operations in there are just basically centered around mopping up any additional hotspots that we find, which are very few. Annandale's been very quiet. We've had no movement of the fire in this area in over 4 days. As we come up into Branch 9 in Division Zulu and Sierra, this is the Calistoga Road area. As we cross back from Sonoma County into Napa County, heavily impacted area up along St. Helena Road where it transitions over to Spring Mountain Road. A lot of work still going on in there. Interior of the fire, our lines on the out on the roads and where we put dozer line in have all held with no movement of the fire in there in over 2 days. As we come up into our Branch 4, Branch 4 encompasses the area above Calistoga, above the Palisades, all the way up Mount St. Helena, and then back towards Etna Springs. So Division Hotel has been our challenge, and yesterday, if you saw that column of smoke that came up, that's where that came from. It was very visible late in the afternoon. We had a wind shift. It pushed our firefighters out. They stayed on their anchor point and kind of directed the fire back towards the Hennessy burn scar. And then they were able, as the wind abated late in the afternoon, to go back direct. And as of this morning, they had 400 feet of line left to connect, and then we'll have a line completely around all that. We have additional contingency lines between our fire perimeter and the county line with Napa and Lake. So we have multiple contingency lines, both to keep the fire from progressing to the west, back into Sonoma County, or to the north and further into Lake County. As we come down into the Pope Valley and Angwin area, again, fire perimeters had no movement for several days, and it's very well intact. The troops are in there looking for hot spots and working and preparing the community for the next phase. End of report.
Speaking next is the incident meteorologist, Tom Bird.
Hello, I think with pretty high confidence we can say that we've gotten past the peak of the most extreme conditions that we've seen across the fire since its initiation a week or so ago. Over the weekend we had the highest, most critically extreme temperatures and relative humidities across the glass fire, with highs 20 to 25 degrees above normal over the weekend. We were seeing highs down in the low valleys over 100 degrees, and up on the fire it was still staying up around the mid to upper 90s. We have seen multiple days with the minimum relative humidity each afternoon dropping between 8 and 10%, critically dry. And then we were seeing those winds from the northwest that were strong in the afternoon, evening hours, that were really pushing up against the red flag weather conditions. We have since kind of started to trend back from the peak of those critical conditions. We will remain warm today and again tomorrow. Today and tomorrow are kind of like identical as far as weather expectations. Continue with temperatures well above normal, but starting to trend downwards a bit. So we're still seeing 90s and upper 80s across the fire, well above what's typical for this time of year. On the relative humidity, we're not going to see a whole lot of gains today or tomorrow. We're still going to see a lot of dry air with very low relative humidities each afternoon. In the evening hours, we see northwest pushes across the fire. What that does is it keeps the marine layer out here in the coastal valleys, doesn't allow it to move inland over the fire. So where we might see some fog and low stratus with high relative humidity down here in the valleys, up on the fire, it's still staying dry. The recoveries are still going to be only fair, although they are beginning to improve somewhat. We still look for dry conditions at least through tomorrow afternoon. We get to Wednesday, and that begins the transition where Tuesday night going into Wednesday, we think we'll lose those northeast winds and start going westerly. That will allow more Pacific air in the area. The marine layer will be better established, it'll be deeper, it'll move further inland, and we believe that it will start improving the recoveries over the fire starting Tuesday night into Wednesday. Then Wednesday, that's when we'll start seeing the noticeable cooling, the noticeable elevation in the moisture, or elevating moisture, as that upper ridge that's been responsible for this long duration of hot, dry weather will start to break down. It'll weaken and move off to the east as we start to see low pressure move in from the Pacific. So we'll start lowering those temperatures for the latter half of the week. By Thursday, Friday, noticeable cooling across the region, noticeable moistening of the air mass with much higher relative humidities. The temperatures will cool by 20. The relative humidities will be up 30, 40, even 50% as we get towards the weekend. That will really work in our favor. The whole period of time, we're not expecting a whole lot of strong winds, mostly from the south. And again, this afternoon, that will push up there on Hotel, where we have the most fire activity. But going forward, we are trending in a better direction. Now, looking at the weekend, there's been talk of a weather system moving in from the west, and we're seeing that. There is still some low confidence in what it will do as the models are trying to vacillate between one and another. So we look at ensembles, which is a whole bunch of models and a whole bunch of runs mashed together, and we look at the probabilities that it gives us from that. And right now, this morning, it's telling us about 25% chance of only a quarter of an inch over here, and not much better chances of a tenth of an inch. We think of a tenth of an inch as being a wetting rain in this region. However, given the current dryness of the fuels, that really will not be insignificant. So whereas we may see some rain on the fire this weekend, I do not believe it'll be significant enough to call it a season-ending event. And then next week, it appears we go back to a drier scenario. Thank you.
Next is CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3 Fire Behavior Analyst Sean Newman.
Okay, so for fire behavior across the fire, for the most part, things are looking pretty good. On our IR flight, infrared flight last night, we had quite a bit of scatter heat all across the fire, and those are primarily in the heavy fuels that are burning out just from the amount of fire that was on the landscape. But we are starting to see a little bit of that reduction across the lower parts where we had a little bit better recovery. But up in the upper part up there, just due to the heavy fuels and the rugged terrain, there is still quite a bit of fire behavior and fire activity in those upper portions up there, and that's that smoke column that we saw yesterday. I anticipate that to start to moderate as the temperatures do start to moderate in the middle of the week. But for the most part today, that's still going to be our challenging spot. Across the fire, we're expecting that wind as it transitions to challenge a little bit of the line up in that area, but also it's going to funnel across some of these east-west drainages, and that has our concern up a little bit. And that was a big part of our messaging today to the operational briefing, was to ensure that the troops were aware of the activity potential on and across the fire, just due to the wind and the direction that those canyons face with that topography. As we get into the latter half of the week with the cooling temperatures, the fire behavior and the fire danger will moderate slightly, but due to the fact that this is not a season-ending event, our fire danger is going to remain very high, and with the fact that we're going to be warming up again next week, our fire danger will remain high until we do actually receive enough rainfall to consider a season-ending event.
Next, from the City of Santa Rosa Police Department is Chief Ray Navarro.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning. So I wanted to start off with just giving a brief update on yesterday's repopulation. It went very well for us, very smoothly. We had no issues with any traffic accidents, and there were no gridlock. People were patient, and we were able to get everybody getting back into Oakmont without any problems. I'm also pleased to report that we continue to have no looting or arrests or burglaries of any kind within the evacuation zones. And so we continue to fare very well in that particular area. We're working diligently right now with our public safety officials to reopen the remaining evacuated areas. And the city will advise you once it is deemed safe to do so. Until that happens, please remember that the evacuation orders remain closed at this time. We currently have 923 residents that remain under the evacuation order and 8,764 residents in the evacuation warning areas. Again, it's unlawful to go into these mandated evacuation zones. Do not attempt to remove or move any of the barricades around these areas. They are there to keep you safe and our public safety officials safe. We continue to patrol the evacuated areas with our officers and mutual aid officers from San Francisco Police Department and the San Francisco Sheriff's Department. Altogether, we have over 20 officers that are dedicated just to the evacuation areas for each operational period. Finally, just another reminder as we go through this emergency to check our websites and our social media platforms. And if you're not sure if your residence is in the evacuation order, you can go to srcity.org/evac updates to find the most updated information. And there you will find the information whether or not you are in those evacuated areas. Thank you.
Next, from the City of Santa Rosa Fire Department is Chief Tony Gosner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Gosner. I'm the Fire Chief for the City of Santa Rosa. Thank you for attending this briefing. Quickly, welcome back all the residents of Oakmont. I'm glad you're home. Just know there's a lot of fire equipment in and around your homes. We have many units on active tactical patrol. That means they're driving in and around the fire line, making sure there's no hot spots that can flare up and then create problems for you that live within or around the burn area. So just be aware that there are a lot of equipment out there. If you don't need to be driving around, please don't. Just let us do our job. Make sure the fire's down. I encourage all fire survivors to visit srcity.org/glass fire recovery for important recovery information from the City of Santa Rosa. There's a comprehensive resource guide for fire impacted residents, There's a property assessment map for damage. And for the latest information on the glass fire, please go to srcity.org/glass fire. Any additional updates on this fire can be found at Facebook at Santa Rosa Fire, at Santa Rosa FD, and on Instagram at Twitter at Santa Rosa Fire. Thank you.
Speaking next from the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office is Sheriff Mark Essick.
Thank you. Good morning. The Sonoma County Sheriff's Office, we are still in 24-hour-a-day operations. Although we have moved away from our emergency schedule, we are currently staffing additional 12 deputies in evacuation zones and in areas where people are repopulating. Those deputies are there to direct you, answer your questions, and assist you as you come back into the area. For the areas that still remain under mandatory evacuation, those deputies are also there to ensure that people do not enter the area and that those properties and homes that are still under mandatory evacuation are safe. We will continue to maintain a strong presence in all of these different zones and in these areas where people are repopulating to be there for the community. We did have some good news yesterday as far as evacuation orders that were lifted. In the unincorporated areas of the county, the areas around Kenwood and Porter Creek roads, we had evacuation orders lifted from mandatory to warning. Currently, we estimate that are about 1,070 people still under mandatory evacuation in the county jurisdiction, and approximately 5,200 people under evacuation warning within the county jurisdictions. We're hoping to have some additional good news for you later today as it pertains to repopulation and evacuation zones. It's important to remember that we want to get you as home as bad as you want to get there. Many of you have been away from your home now for over a week, and we understand that's very stressful for you, and this is very trying for all of us. We also want to get you back home safely. So as we lift evacuation orders, we generally start with areas unaffected by the fire first and then move towards areas that were affected by the fire. It does take more time to clear those areas that were affected by the fire because, as you've heard some of the experts talk about, we have numerous trees, utility lines down, and we have crews in those areas restoring services so that we'll be ready when you get there. For residents of both the county and the city, the Local Assistance Center is open today starting at 1 p.m. It is open at Maria Carrillo High School. They will be serving you from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. today, and then tomorrow through Saturday they will be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. What you can get at the Local Assistance Center is you can get a start on replacing lost or missing documents or destroyed documents, insurance assistance, and helps with the next steps in recovery. Please continue to sign up for Nixle to be alerted to our alerts as we put them out. That is how we transmit our evacuation changes, is through Nixle. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get information and notices from the Sheriff's Office. We have staff that will answer your questions on those multiple social media platforms. We have staff there to answer your questions, and they will get back to you quickly if you post something to us. I want to again thank this community for its incredible efforts during this fire. Your cooperation with the Sheriff's Office and other public safety partners has made our job easier, which allows firefighters to get and do their job and rescue many homes and properties. So we are very grateful and thankful for that. Thank you.
Our final speaker this morning from the California Highway Patrol is Captain John Blencombe.
I'd like to thank everybody for their patience as we progress through the repopulation efforts. We currently have approximately 20 officers still on traffic control points in Napa and Sonoma counties, and we're working diligently with our allied agency partners to get everybody back in as quickly as possible, but only when it's safe. Now, as we continue to evaluate the repopulation efforts, please bear in mind that your typical routes of travel into certain areas may not be accessible. You may need to use alternate routes of travel to access certain areas, and those alternate routes of travel may not necessarily readily support the extra traffic that's going to be passing on them. So please drive safely, slow down, and take your time when you're getting back into your homes. Also keep in mind that some of these traffic control points and some of these intersections may not have power, and you may see a flashing red light, or you may see no light on at all. Make sure you're treating those as stop signs. Make sure you stop, look both ways, and proceed only when it's safe. I'd like to thank the community for having their patience with us as we progress through this, and we're almost there. So thank you.
All right, that concludes the English language version of this press conference. Everyone up here will be available for one-on-one questions at the conclusion. I'd like to hand it over to Captain Negrete for the Spanish language version. Thank you.
Hola, buenos días. Me llamo Antonio Negrete. Soy uno de los voceros aquí asignado al incendio Glass. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros esta mañana, hoy el 5 de octubre. Estamos muy agradecidos por el apoyo que estamos recibiendo por la comunidad y les quería apuntarle eso para ustedes. Estos son los últimos detalles y los números para hoy. Para la área afectada estamos en 65,580. El porcentaje de contención ha subido a 30%. Estamos agradecidos del arduo trabajo que los bomberos andan trabajando turno de 24 horas en condiciones muy difíciles. Desde hoy tenemos 2,774 personas asignadas al incendio. Además tenemos bomberos de los estados de Oregón, Washington, Nuevo México y Texas que han llegado para unirse en la lucha. Totalmente tenemos 408 trocas en la lucha del incendio, 21 helicópteros y 58 excavadores. Por favor, tengan cuidado y que tengan cuenta de todo el equipo circulando en las carreteras en las varias comunidades, especialmente en el condado de Sonoma y Napa, porque tenemos, como dije, mucho equipo ahí atravesando por las carreteras. Ya finalmente, si me permite, quiero leer una declaración de el Departamento de Bomberos de Santa Rosa. Animó a los sobrevivientes de incendios a visitar srcity.org Glass Fire Recovery para obtener información importante sobre la recuperación de la ciudad de Santa Rosa, que incluye una guía completa de recursos para residentes afectados por los incendios. También hay una mapa de evaluación de daños a la propiedad. Para obtener la información de emergencia más reciente sobre el incendio Glass y actualizaciones dentro de los límites de la ciudad de Santa Rosa, por favor visite srcity.org o RG Glassfire. Hay actualizaciones adicionales y información que pertenece a los incendios disponible en el Facebook en @SantaRosaFD y en el Instagram y Twitter @SantaRosaFire. Ya les quiero presentar a mis compañeros de las varias oficiales de los departamentos aquí del incendio. La primera persona que le quiero presentar es Juan Valencia, sargento con el condado de Sheriff aquí en Sonoma County.
Buenos días, Sargento Juan Valencia, el portavoz del Departamento del Sheriff del Condado de Sonoma. Estamos aquí otra vez, ya hace más de una semana que empezó el incendio Glass. Mucho ha cambiado y estoy aquí para hablar lo que estamos haciendo en la oficina del alguacil del Sheriff. Ahorita tenemos más de 12 oficiales patrullando las áreas que están debajo de una orden, protegiendo su propiedad y que nadie esté dentro de allí. Si contactamos a personas que están en las áreas, hablamos con ellos y si podemos los vamos a arrestar. Todavía tenemos 8 reportes de personas que contactamos en esas áreas que arrestamos que estaban cometiendo delitos. Repoblación. ¿Qué significa la repoblación? Es la pregunta que hemos agarrado mucho en Facebook y en las redes sociales. Ahorita todavía tenemos muchas zonas que están debajo de una orden y de advertencia. Ahorita tenemos más de 1,070 personas que están debajo de una orden y 5,201 personas que están debajo de una advertencia. La cosa es cuando estamos hablando de repoblación, empezamos con las áreas que no están dañadas del incendio, donde no llegó el incendio. Es las áreas más fáciles para repoblación. La cosa es que las áreas que quedó en incendio llegó, que se quemaron, la cosa es mucho trabajo para las compañías de PG&E. Tienen que poner líneas nuevas, tienen que inspectar las pipas de agua, los árboles que todavía están quemando y que se pueden caer y causar daño a ustedes o a un familiar. Es muy importante que chequemos todo eso y que el área esté seguro para ustedes para que puedan regresar a sus hogares. Y sabemos que unas casas sí se quemaron y tenemos que chequear todo para la comunidad. Sabemos que quieren regresar, pero todo lo que estoy diciendo toma mucha paciencia, toma tiempo y por favor denos la paciencia y el tiempo. Estamos trabajando muy duro, estamos trabajando 24 horas al día para que puedan regresar a sus hogares. Con eso, el condado y la ciudad de Santa Rosa abrió un centro de asistencia local. Lo que es eso, pueden ir a la escuela secundaria Maria Carrillo o a la high school de Maria Carrillo hoy de 1 a 7 de la tarde o el sábado de 10 de la mañana hasta las 7 de la tarde. La cosa es, allí les pueden ayudar para agarrar papeleos, y llenar cosas para la aseguranza y darles informaciones para que si perdieron cosas como documentos, licencias, cosas así que necesitan nuevas. Les quiero decir también que se registren en Nexo. Todas las informaciones que estamos mandando está debajo de Nexo y las redes sociales Facebook, Twitter y Instagram. Toda la información que ponemos en Nexo también ponemos en las redes sociales para ustedes en inglés y en español. Y otra vez, gracias por su paciencia.
De la patrulla del camino les presento a Custodio López, oficial.
Buenos días, soy su oficial Custodio López con la Patrulla de Caminos de California. Primeramente les queremos informar a todos en el cual tenemos, podemos decir como unos 20 oficiales que todavía están trabajando en el área de Sonoma County, en el área de Napa, que todavía están cubriendo ciertas carreteras, como saben, en estas áreas que todavía están bajo evacuación. Son nuestros oficiales ahí, están protegiendo y están asistiendo a nuestros compañeros del alguacil de aquí, del departamento de Santa Rosa y también del departamento en el otro lado de Napa también. Y les queremos informar a todos es en el cual ya cuando empiecen y puedan regresar a sus hogares, o la parte que siguen repitiendo todos de la repopulación, por favor, que se aseguren que cuando vayan a entrar, que se aseguren que miren alrededor de su hogar, que así como los dejaron entrar para atrás, asegurarse de que no haya líneas de luz que estén caídas. Tal vez sí inspeccionaron, pero como sabemos, tenemos que asegurarnos nosotros para asegurar que podemos notificar a las personas correctas para que vengan a asegurarse de que no vayan a causar o de que vaya a pasar algo y alguien pueda lastimarse o hasta pueda fallecer. Y también les queremos informar a todos que cuando empiezan a entrar para atrás a sus lugares, que hay varias luces de tráfico que no van a estar funcionando, y si no están funcionando y están apagadas y usted sabe dónde están, que las traten a todas como si fuera un stop sign, como si fuera un alto de 4 paradas para asegurarse que puedan entrar y que no vayan a causar un choque. También van a entrar y van a mirar ciertas luces donde está parpadeando esa luz roja. es un semáforo que antes funcionaba, pero ahora está prendiendo esa luz y se está apagando. Lo tenemos que tratar como un alto también. Es un recordatorio porque todos ahí van a querer entrar cuando les dejen saber que pueden entrar y quieren entrar rápidamente. También les queremos informar que cuando puedan entrar para atrás van a ver varias venas, que todavía van a ver varios camiones de nuestros compañeros los bomberos que están atravesando, y les queremos informar que si van a tomar otras carreteras para entrar para atrás a sus hogares, que se aseguren que sepan esas carreteras, porque muchas de ellas van a estar angostas y va a haber más tráfico en esas carreteras que diario hay para todas las personas que sí hay. Manejen con mucho cuidado, asegurarse que sepan dónde están las luces, esos semáforos, para si no están encendidos, si no están prendidos, para que no vayamos a causar un choque, ya que cuando reciban esa notificación de que puedan entrar todos sanos, seguros y puedan asegurar todas sus cositas. Les damos muchísimas gracias por la paciencia y ojalá ya en estos días que siguen ya podemos recibir hasta más buenas noticias y ya puedan entrar todos para atrás a sus hogares. Gracias.
Del Departamento de Policía aquí en Santa Rosa les presento a Armando Jauregui, oficial.
Buenos días, Armando Jauregui con la Policía de Santa Rosa. Los esfuerzos de repoblación de ayer fueron bien, sin problemas de tráfico. Me complace informarle que no hubo informes de saqueos ni arrestos, ni ningún tipo de arresto dentro de las zonas de evacuación anoche. Estamos trabajando con oficiales de seguridad para abrir las zonas de evacuaciones en la ciudad, pero primero que esté seguro hacerlo. Hasta entonces, las áreas bajo de orden de evacuación permanecen cerradas. En este momento, la ciudad de Santa Rosa tenemos 923 residentes que permanecen bajo una orden de evacuación y 8,764 bajo una advertencia de evacuación. Por favor, recuerden que es ilegal entrar a estas áreas. No intenten de mover barricadas de tráfico, están ahí por su seguridad. El Departamento de Policía de Santa Rosa sigue patrullando las zonas de evacuación y chequeo de seguridad de los hogares, con la asistencia de ayuda mutua del Departamento de Policía de San Francisco y la Oficina de Sheriff de San Francisco. Para más información del orden de evacuación, vaya a srcity.org/evac updates. Gracias.
Con eso se completa la parte de español de la conferencia. No se olvide que aquí del lado podemos contestar cualquier pregunta que ustedes tienen. Y también no se le olviden que nos pueden seguir en las páginas Twitter y Facebook en la CAL FIRE LNU. Esa es CAL FIRE LNU. Gracias.